A full interior detail runs $175 to $350 depending on your vehicle, and the moment a detailer spots a deep stain, mildew, or a smell that won't lift, the quote climbs fast. Odor removal alone is usually billed as a $75 to $150 add-on. Most of what's actually solving that stain and that smell is a chemical that costs about $1 a bottle. Detailers know this. It's just not something that comes up while they're writing your invoice, because the difference between a basic vacuum and wipe and a premium package is often exactly the kind of treatment a drugstore bottle can handle. We're talking about hydrogen peroxide, the plain 3% bottle, and tip number 4 on this list is the one that saved people from a seat re-upholstery quote. 9 tips, let's get into it. Quick chemistry, because it matters for fabric and leather specifically. Hydrogen peroxide is water carrying one extra unstable oxygen atom, and when that atom contacts organic material, sweat, food, mold, bacteria, it oxidizes it and breaks it apart at the molecular level, then falls apart itself into nothing but water and oxygen. That's what makes it different from a scented cleaner, which just covers a smell instead of actually eliminating what's producing it. The trade-off is that the same oxidation can lighten dye. So everything below starts with a test spot in a hidden corner of the seat or carpet before you touch anything visible. Number 1. It lifts fresh stains out of cloth seats before they set. Coffee, food, and drink spills bond into cloth fiber within the first hour, which is why a spill that felt easy to wipe up in the moment leaves a faint mark days later. Blot up excess liquid, then apply 3% peroxide directly to the stain and let it sit 10 minutes. You'll see it foam slightly as it works, then blot dry with a clean cloth. Caught early, most fresh stains lift completely instead of becoming the permanent mark a detailer charges extra to spot treat. Number 2, it clears mold and mildew spots off leather seats. Leather that's trapped moisture, a wet swimsuit, a spilled drink, a window left cracked in the rain, grows small dark mildew spots in the grain within days, and once it sets in, it keeps spreading even after the seat dries. Mix 3% peroxide with an equal part water, dab it onto the mildew spot with a soft cloth. Let it sit 5 minutes, then wipe clean and dry immediately. It kills the mold on contact without the deep soaking a full leather shampoo requires. Number 3, it pulls embedded odor out of seat foam, not just the fabric surface. A car can smell stale even after a full interior wipe down because the actual odor source has soaked past the fabric into the foam padding underneath, which is exactly why air fresheners only mask it for a day or two. Mix 1 cup of 3% peroxide with a teaspoon of dish soap in a spray bottle. Lightly mist the seat and let it sit 15 minutes before blotting with a dry towel and letting the seat air out with the windows down. It reaches the bacteria actually producing the smell instead of just the surface layer. Number 4, and this is the one that saved the most seats on this entire list. Once a stain or an odor has been in a seat long enough, a detailer will often tell you the padding itself is compromised, and the real fix is reupholstering the seat, which for a single seat easily runs $500 to $1,500 depending on the material. Before accepting that, saturate the affected area fully with 3% peroxide, deep enough that you can feel dampness through to the foam, and let it sit undisturbed for a full hour, re-wetting if it dries out. Blot, don't scrub, then let it air dry completely with the windows down, which can take most of a day. On an old deeply set stain or smell, this may need 2 or 3 rounds spread over a few days. It's slow, but it reaches deep into the padding a quick detail spray never touches. And it's the difference between a seat that gets saved and a seat that gets replaced. If that's changing how you think about the seat needs replacing, quote, subscribe. We cover one of these every week. Number 5, it lifts water spots and stains off your fabric headliner without leaving a sag mark. The headliner is glued to a foam backing, and if it gets fully soaked, the glue can fail and the fabric sags permanently, which is exactly why a stained headliner often just gets left alone. Lightly mist, don't soak, a peroxide dampened cloth and dab the stain gently rather than spraying the ceiling directly. Let it air dry with the door open. It handles surface staining without the risk of oversaturating the adhesive underneath. Number 6, it removes mold from seatbelt webbing. Seat belts trap moisture in their weave the same way fabric seats do, especially in a car that's had wet gear or a spilled drink near the buckle. And a moldy seatbelt is something most people just live with because replacing the webbing isn't cheap or simple, and most shops won't touch a safety component during a routine cosmetic detail anyway. Dab peroxide onto the mildewed section with a cloth. Let it sit 10 minutes, then wipe and let it air dry fully extended so it doesn't retract while still damp. It kills the mold without weakening the webbing fibers, the way a harsher bleach treatment would, which matters given this is the one piece of fabric in the car that actually needs to hold up under load. Number 7, It lifts deep-set stains and road salt residue out of floor mats. Winter driving leaves a chalky white residue from road salt baked into carpet floor mats, and that residue is what makes mats look permanently dirty, even after a regular wash. A detailer will sometimes suggest replacement mats entirely, rather than spend the labor time working the residue out by hand. Soak the mats in a mix of 1 part peroxide to 3 parts water for 20 minutes. Scrub with a stiff brush, then rinse thoroughly and let them dry fully before putting them back in the car. It breaks down the salt residue and any embedded stains at the same time. And on rubber mats, it also lifts the dulled, chalky look salt leaves behind on the surface. Number 8. It deodorizes and cleans mildew out of your trunk liner. The spare tire well and trunk liner trap moisture from wet groceries, sports gear, or a small leak around the trunk seal, and because it's out of sight, mildew can grow back there for months before anyone notices the smell, usually only showing up as a musty note the second you open the hatch. Pull up the trunk liner if you can, spray the affected area with 3% peroxide, let it sit 15 minutes, then wipe and let it air dry completely before putting the liner back. It clears the smell at the source instead of just airing out the cabin, which is usually all a quick detail actually does for a trunk odor complaint. I want to be straight about the limits here because interior materials vary a lot and this isn't a one-size-fits-all fix. Hydrogen peroxide is an oxidizer, and on darker or dyed leather and fabric, that same oxidation can lighten a spot exactly where you were trying to clean it, which is why every tip above starts with a hidden test patch. No exceptions. Genuine leather, especially older or unsealed leather, can also dry out faster than usual if treated too often. So this is a spot treatment tool, not a routine full seat cleaner, and a proper leather conditioner afterward matters more than people think. For a headliner that's already sagging, upholstery that's torn, or anything beyond staining and odor, that's exactly when a professional detailer's judgment and equipment are worth paying for. Number 9. And this is the safety rule that ties the whole list together. Always test in a hidden spot first. Always use plain 3% peroxide and never a stronger concentration, and never combine it with vinegar or ammonia-based interior cleaners in the same treatment. The fumes build up fast in the enclosed space of a car cabin. Let treated areas dry fully with the windows down before closing the car up, and store your bottle in a cool, dark place. If it stops fizzing when it hits a stain, it's gone flat and needs replacing. Most of what makes a seat, a headliner, or a trunk feel permanently ruined is really just a stain or a smell nobody gave the right chemistry enough time to actually break down. A dollar bottle handles more of that than the estimate sheet wants you to think. If this saved you a trip to the detail shop, subscribe. We put out a new one of these every week.